Hello everybody and welcome to another look from MinnMax. My name is Ben Hansen and I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard, also from MinnMax.
Yes, true, valid.
Kyle, we're here to take another look. Let's take another look at that. That meaning every trailer for Metroid Dread. Some of these I technically haven't even seen yet, but we're working in chronological order showing off every trailer for Metroid Dread. Kyle, what do you hope to learn from this experience?
Gosh, that's a good question. I've actually been avoiding these.
Oh,
I
really?
watched this one. Yeah, I've been intentionally avoiding these, and even when you asked me to do this, I was like, well, I don't know if I want to watch all this stuff, but I'd like to make a video. I like talking about Metroid, so I think it's worth it.
I think it's interesting just to see like how Nintendo is marketing Metroid, because obviously the big thing is everybody screams, oh, you left this game, you left it high and dry, you didn't market this thing. Like, I think they have done an admirable job of trying to get eyeballs on Metroid, which it feels like for the entire existence of Metroid, fans have been screaming that, like, come on, Nintendo, you're not even trying. But, like, they've been releasing a lot. They've been doing those Metroid Dread volumes, which is just kind of like a deep dive into different areas and stuff as they move along. So they're trying. So just like...
It seems like they're, like, really focusing on the lore even, too, right? Which is, like, I don't know, not a Nintendo thing to do. Is to acknowledge the sort of the world it exists in.
Yeah,
know?
I wonder how much of that is just Sakamoto, the producer, is just really into the lore and the story, because it is bizarre. Like, you read those Metroid Dread volume reports on Nintendo's site, and it's stuff about just like, oh, you would think that Samus is a badass that doesn't have any feelings, but she's actually a big softie underneath that suit and all this stuff. It's like, this is like some weird Other M stuff that I don't know if Metroid fans are really too into.
He was all about Other M.
He was.
You know,
and I
really
think
had a lot of faith in that.
That's also just a part of marketing, I think, too, is like if they're trying to make the most out of Metroid and celebrate Metroid, we can only talk about like, hey, it's fun to backtrack for how many marketing beats before you got to have something else. So I think that's probably naturally where the story is, like, first and foremost at this point. But Kyle,
I think it's also like they want to get new people in.
Yeah.
Right? And to be like, hey, look, there's actually like an interesting story here if you're not super familiar. You know what I mean? It's not just like mechanics and gameplay. There is stuff going on here.
It's almost like going back to the origins, right? Of like, hey, everybody, do you like Alien? Do you think that Ripley's kind of cool? Then you'd love Ridley. Check out Metroid, everybody. Like, here's a good example, right? The second trailer, it's opening with Parasite X, like all this backstory, which apparently Metroid Dread itself opens with kind of a recap of Fusion and all the story beats you need to know. And there's like, I hear from people who've played the first 90 minutes that there is a shocking amount of kind of story up front for the Metroid series.
I'm into that. Like, I sometimes, Metroid M went too far, but then other ones I feel like don't go far enough. Like, there's a middle ground of, like, good story in Metroid, you know?
Yeah. And we should mention, we're doing this, and this is really just an appetizer, because we're going to be creating the best, most thorough discussion about Metroid Dread on the internet with The Deepest Dive, which is our huge community game club series. So the week after Metroid Dread releases, which is October 8th, so on that Monday, we will post something on MinnMax's Patreon at patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's, looking for your thoughts on the first half of the game. We'll have details on exactly when the stopping point is, but looking for your thoughts on the first half of the game, and we'll be reading your thoughts then if you're a Patreon supporter at any tier during the Deepest Dive. And also, if you support MinnMax and Patreon at that $5 tier, you unlock the podcast version of the Deepest Dive for your listening convenience. Otherwise, it'll be on our YouTube channel. So if you give a subscribe over to our YouTube channel, we would appreciate it. And we need your help in creating the best, most thorough discussion about Metroid Dread on the internet. We'll be joined by 2 other mysterious folks, Kyle. Isn't that so?
Is so. Make it so.
Yeah.
As Jean-Luc Picard would say.
That's right. But it's going to be fun to have like a big celebration of Metroid, you know? I feel like it's a lot of people saying, oh, I should talk more about Metroid, I should celebrate Metroid. Like, that is what the Deepest Dive is going to be all about, is celebrating everything good about Metroid and really diving in and giving Metroid Dread the discussion it deserves, instead of just saying, that's pretty good, it's no Super Metroid, moving on, which I think a lot of other outlets will be doing. We're going to be diving deep, and we need your help. So if you head on over to Patreon, we'd appreciate it. So Kyle, did you see that shot? Like, this Chozo stuff, isn't this wild?
Yeah, also I'm sort of enamored with all the different suits. Like,
yeah.
You do see the classic suit. It looked like maybe the introductory cutscene for the game.
Right.
And even you see like right there, and then but we also saw like alternate versions of that white one. That's interesting.
Yeah, so they said in one of the volume reports that apparently it's like after Fusion, Samus's suit is like reverting back to its original state. which is like, well, cool. You gotta have that iconic look, I guess, to start out with. Yeah, this is like from the very opening of the game here, where she's battling the robotic Chozo. But yeah, it's fun to see all this. Also, like, seeing this in action, there's a lot more environments than I was expecting. It is definitely very interior space basey, which I would prefer more natural environments, but good God, I mean, look at that cutscene. Like, going up against Kraid and stuff, that looks so dynamic and crazy for a Metroid game.
Yeah. I mean, we've also seen there was like, I forget the name of the move, but where you can kind of just shoot upward. Like, these are all things that have been in past Metroid games. Not everything we're seeing has been in past Metroid games.
Right.
But, like, the camera, I don't know if it was just for the trailer, but like the way it was like sort of angled down, I wonder if it will move when you're sort of doing those things in certain places. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, based on previews so far, it seems like people are saying that it's trying to be a little cinematic, and sometimes it doesn't exactly fit as well as you would hope. Also, people are saying like, oh, the Emmys are definitely tense when they're chasing you around, because that's the whole thing. That's why it's called Dread, is to have these Terminators walking around. Well, here, we'll probably learn it all here. But some people are saying that like,
bullet points, exploration, Dread.
It's to come for the exploration, stay for the Dread. Metroid Dread, everybody. But people are saying about the Emmys that like, they're a little, it's not exactly what I want for a Metroid experience, is to have like these robots stalking me in these kind of confined areas. But it's gonna be something unique.
I mean, I gotta say, even from announcement, like, it didn't really sound that appealing to me, if I'm being honest. I mean, it kind of feels like, I'm gonna butcher the name, but Lady Dimitrescu, or from
exactly
Resident Evil 8.
Right.
I nailed it. Like, once you kind of learn how she works, it's not that threatening, really, ultimately. You know, you just kind of... And I feel like that's what's going to happen with the Emmys, is I'm going to walk into a room and it's going to be like, oh, okay, well, I just need to stay over here for a second. You know?
Yeah.
But we'll see. I haven't played it.
Since there's talking this one, do you want to shut up and listen to it with me?
And underwater depths.
The underwater stuff is interesting, isn't it?
At Samus's disposal
Really?
is a powerful
I spent a lot of time underwater in Metroid games.
I guess I didn't expect it from Metroid Dread.
Jumping prowess, a new slide, and a brutal
Sorry to be,
melee counter
negative.
which deflects enemy attacks.
You're forgiven, Kyle.
As Samus continues to explore, she'll gain additional abilities. Cling to certain walls and ceilings with
A
the
slow
spider
climb.
magnet.
Ooh.
Morph into a ball. to
Apparently the
enter
morph
narrow
ball
passages
comes later
with
than
the
people were
morph
expecting.
ball.
Like in the 90-minute
Move
preview,
at
people
high
did not get the
speed
morph
with
ball,
the
which is
flash
crazy.
Shift.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
Lock
usually
on
your
to
first
multiple
upgrade.
targets
Yeah.
at once with the Storm Missile.
Missile.
Ability you uncover
voice.
as Samus,
I wonder if she's
your
in the game as, like, a
exploratory
character.
options will expand. Eventually, the whole planet will open up and be yours to explore at will.
Ooh, weird.
The abilities you gain can also be used in
jump to it.
combat against enemies, making them versatile in a number of situations.
I'm hopeful for the bosses. Bosses have been the weak point for Metroid in general for me.
Well, it seems like especially Samus Returns, people were not in love with that.
Research robots called Emmy
Emmy.
track down Samus and attempt to capture her. Their bodies
I love the
are covered
Emmy
with
design. I
tough
think that's
armor
cool. I like
that
how they
regular attacks cannot
into themselves.
penetrate.
Oh, yeah.
If they capture Samus, she will meet her end.
No, Samus! And then the series will never
Emmy
return.
hunt down Samus by detecting the sound she makes. And once one sees her,
Yeah,
the real
stealth
hunt begins.
in a Metroid game like this is
To
going to be
evade the
really
relentless
interesting.
Emmy, your only
Fusion
option
had
is
like
to
a
use Samus's
little tiny
abilities
Is
to
that
avoid
right?
detection and escape.
Yeah, we also did a Max spoilers for
Different types
Metroid
of
Fusion if you want to find that on
varying
MinnMax's YouTube channel.
capabilities lie in wait
Yeah,
across
Soriel and I
the
played it
ZDR.
recently.
Yeah.
Deadly unknown organisms lurk in the dark. Ruins of a
like that.
long-lost
Yeah,
civilization
that Kraid
litter
stuff
the
looks
planet.
fantastic.
And is the mysterious bird-like Chozo figure
Bird-like?
ally or enemy? What secret truths hide within planet ZDR? Beyond the mission, beyond the
There's a lot of cutscenes, man.
what true terror lies in wait?
Ah!
I'm into it. I want cutscenes.
There's close-up shots, like the one from the previous trailer where it's like Samus ascending and like that lights or whatever. I wonder if that's like just like a secret latent ability or something awakening in her.
I'm trying to remember. I think Samus Returns had pretty dynamic camera, like for finishing bosses and stuff.
Right.
I remember that final boss fight.
Yeah.
Kind of moving the camera around in interesting ways.
I mean, I know people are saying visually it's not the most impressive game, but like that crate fight looks really good.
Yeah, no, I guess it doesn't. It doesn't look like a PlayStation 5 game. Fair.
That seems
like,
natural.
I think it looks great.
Yeah. I think we'll get back in the zone, especially if you're playing handheld. I bet you wouldn't really notice it in a big way. Oh no, what is this?
That amiibo like sound cue in the middle of this like really dark, and then it's like, hey, amiibo.
You wouldn't believe these freaky little toys that you can buy.
By tapping the Emmy amiibo.
She has to sell all this with a straight face.
Tap these figures again.
But in the previews, Kyle, that came out, people are also saying like there is a lot of exploration. If you are a fan of not knowing where to go, Metroid Dread is the game for you. Like, it seems like there's a lot more dead ends and a lot more possibilities, and like it's not as simple as this was an IGN story from Kat Bailey. She said like it's not as simple as like knowing this is the next spot I need to go explore. Like, it really is surprisingly open in the beginning.
Okay. That can be a double-edged sword. Let's see how that goes.
It's true.
The key to escaping this treacherous planet
New voice.
has been sighted.
A lot of her eyes. That's really interesting that they're focusing on that in such a big way.
Well, they realized that, like they had it. It was so subtle in Metroid Prime, and everyone was like, "That was." Everyone like highlighted that when they talked about the game. It's like, yeah, and sometimes you'll see her eyes reflect in the. Then they're like, "Oh, you know what? Let's get more eyes in there."
Right. Oh, what's that? You like the subtle eyes? Well, what if they were in your face eyes, which is typically where eyes are?
You are faced with overwhelming power.
And that's the voice of Adam, then, who's kind of like the AI guiding her here.
Oh, is that right?
I assume so, unless that's like the voice of Emmy or something. But I know that Adam's going to be a thing in this game again.
I mean, Adam had a voice. He was a person, and then Adam was an AI without a voice in Fusion.
Okay. Wait. So yes, he was a person in Other M.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a very
And I think the AI is just like named after him, and it's just, I don't think there's much to read on that.
Gotcha. Where's your hype level at, Kyle? Scale of 1 to 10 for Metroid Dread.
Oh, you know, it's one of those things. It's actually like maybe like at a 8 right now.
Okay.
But on October, when does it come out?
8th.
3rd? 8th? Like on October 7th, it's gonna skyrocket to a 10. It's like one of those games that it's like it's like I haven't been watching these trailers. I don't want to know a ton about it. It's one of those ones that I will be very excited to have in my hand, but I'm not getting super excited about it before.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We're also going to have some gigantic Metroid fans on the Deepest Dive talking about it. And actually, we have a big Nintendo fan, somebody who maybe worked at Nintendo and is a big Metroid fan, on the MinnMax Show podcast talking about it as well. So look forward to that next week, actually. It's quite the tease. Also, Kyle, we had an episode of the MinnMax Show podcast a while ago that was the Great Metroid Retrospective. So it's us talking about the history of the series and development tidbits and a lot about like working with Sakamoto and stuff like that. So if you're interested in the development history of Metroid, where all the stuff comes from, you can check out the MinnMax Show podcast on your favorite podcast app. It's not Patreon exclusive. Not to be confused with the Patreon exclusive podcast, which is the Deepest Dive, that's going to be for Metroid Dread. Is this confusing, Kyle?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, great. The point is, just look on your podcast app. You can find the MinnMax Show. We'd appreciate it. Well, that's it, Kyle. That's them doing everything they can to rally folks to get excited for Metroid. God bless them for going for it. And there's, like, look at all this stuff. There's, like, really dorky stuff in here as well, which I really appreciate it as a person who loves video game history. But they uploaded, like, the original raw box art for a lot of the old Metroid games, like without any text on it. Just like, hey, here's a high-res version of the Super Metroid art, or the Metroid Fusion art, or the original Metroid art. It's really dorky stuff, but it's cool for them to do. That was going to be my get a load of this on the podcast last week, but then something else came up.
I think it was Chris Kohler at Kobun Heat on Twitter actually last night tweeted something really interesting. He found a Choose Your Own Adventure Metroid book that released in Japan.
Really?
And the art for Samus on the cover is like unlike anything I've ever seen. It is so bizarre. Just speaking of like weird, Metroid remnant things, it's very strange.
Right. Yeah, and speaking about history, Kyle, you're still in love with the idea that this was originally a DS game that they canceled, but it was... God, I mean, it was being built. I mean, they were confident enough about it to start teasing it in what other game was it popping up in?
Well, so they announced it at E3 proper. Like you can find,
right.
I think I was surprised, actually. I didn't know it was attributed to Game Informer, but Game Informer's was a 2005 issue, had it on a list of upcoming DS games.
Right. Okay.
And a lot of the ones on there like did come out. There's like Mario Kart, Mario and Luigi 2, and Animal Crossing Advance Wars, and then Metroid Dread, a 2D Metroid adventure is what it said in parentheses, was on that list. And then it disappeared for a long time. And then in Metroid Prime 3, you could scan something in the game. I don't think I ever found it personally, but there was something that you could scan, and then the text for it said experiment status report update. Metroid Project Dread, in quotations, is nearing the final stages of completion.
Right.
Which heavily implied that the game was like ready to come out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean,
Then it
at some
disappeared.
point, maybe, that'd be the best like post or like credit sequence for Metroid Dread if they just rolled clips from the old DS version of this game, and then you got to see like different versions of the environments you went through and stuff, and how it evolved with the new developer Mercury and Steam and all that. But anyways, we'll be talking a lot more about Metroid Dread for the deepest dive, so subscribe to MinnMax's YouTube channel, tell a friend, and if you want to help celebrate Metroid in a huge way, you can join our gigantic community game club by going over to patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's and supporting us at just that $2 tier. You can leave your stamp on Metroid history. Yes, Kyle?
Absolutely. 2 N's, $2.
Ooh, that's really good. That can kind of be like your thing that you can always say.
I'm good.
Okay, great. All right, thanks so much, everybody. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Bye. You can help support independent games media by subscribing to MinnMax on YouTube here, or you can support us over on Patreon to unlock exclusive shows like MinnMax Council. You can call into our podcast. You can put a picture of your choice on every MinnMax video, or you could have us plug your passion project on the MinnMax Show podcast. MinnMax is a Patreon about games, friends, and getting better, and we exist because of you. Any help telling a friend's appreciated.